Okay, good morning. This is the January 16th, 2025 meeting of the Southern Region Board of Review. This hearing is being held via WebEx video conference at the Perry B. Dorier Jr. State Office Building, 250 Veterans Memorial Highway, Conference Room 4A9A, Hauppauge, New York, 11788. The time is now 9:05 and this hearing is officially open. The members of the board are Andrew Hames, Erica Schaub, Richard Pavone, Laura Buzleman, and myself, Robert Peterson, Chairman. From the Department of State is Courtney Nation and CJ Ajoku. We will now hear the scheduled petitions. When you speak, please address the board and give your name, title, and legal address so that our court reporter can have all the information requested. We may have to stop from time to time to consult with our technical staff. In making comments to the board, please provide a descriptive narrative on the matters referring to your exhibits to enable the court reporter to enter these into the record. The first hearing is in the matter of petition number 2024-0460. Petitioner is Peter Nesfield, architect, for Danny and Amanda Zaloof. Hope I pronounced that correctly. This petition pertains to alterations to an existing detached single-family dwelling. The dwelling is approximately 11,710 square feet in total gross floor area, inclusive of existing basement space. The dwelling located at 75 Dogwood Avenue, Incorporated Village of Roslyn Harbor, County of Nassau, New York. The petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR, Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section R310.1, which states, basements, habitable attics in every sleeping room shall have not less than one operable emergency escape and rescue opening. Where basements contain one or more sleeping rooms, an emergency escape and rescue opening shall be required in each sleeping room. Emergency escape and rescue openings shall open directly into a public way or to a yard or court that opens to a public way. The petitioner requests that an existing habitable attic be maintained without an emergency escape and rescue opening. And 19 NYCRR Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section AJ 601.8.3, which states an existing attic may be altered to create a habitable attic above the second story above grade plane without requiring the installation of a sprinkler system throughout the entire dwelling, provided all of the following conditions are met. Number one, the habitable attic and its means of egress to the exterior are equipped with a limited area sprinkler system installed in accordance with NFPA 13D or Section P 2904 of this code. Number two, the habitable attic is provided with emergency escape and rescue openings, meeting the requirements of Section R310 of this code. And number three, the entire dwelling is equipped with a fire alarm system in compliance with Section R314.7 of this code and monitored by an approved supervising station in accordance with NFPA 72. The petitioner requests that an existing habitable attic above the second story be maintained without a limited area fire sprinkler. Okay, Peter, you've got the floor.
So my client had bought the property in 2013, and we started a process in 2019 to renovate the basement and modify the second floor. First floor renovations were due to a kitchen. In the process of going through it, the building inspector in Roslyn had gone upstairs and saw the finished attic, and we had been through many discussions with the building inspector to maintain this, and it didn't seem to bear any fruit, so we petitioned the state for a variance on this matter, and that's what brings me here today. There is a fixed stair going up to the attic, and that stair leads to a hallway that goes to the first floor, the staircase that can go to the first floor. And you've seen the pictures and photos that we've submitted, or you need any illustration of the spaces or anything like that, or is there any clarifications that you guys need from me?
You said the attic was finished when the owner bought it?
He bought it. It was in this state. I mean, he's online. He could speak to it better than I can, but I'm 99% sure that I don't see him lying or telling a fib here. I think the fact that it was a finished space that looked like this when he bought it.
Yes. Just sorry. This is Danny Zaloof speaking. Yeah. When we bought it, the attic was in a finished space. Anything that was done to it was more cosmetic. I have a gym up there, and when this issue came about, I provided pictures from the appraisal that I had been issued when I bought the property in 2013 that showed the attic space, finished in the manner that, in the layout and manner that it is today. And so it was only after 6 or 7 years after the fact that it was, brought to my attention that it wasn't, aligning with the code and so forth. So I, didn't change any of the, the layout or anything of the attic itself.
Do you have any of those photos? You could share with the board before you perform the renovations?
Did present them to Ralph.
Yeah, I can pull them. It's the previous appraisal. I guess I could look up and see. I'd shared it earlier with the board of the village that I, reside in. But yes, I can definitely pull the appraisal and show that the attic was.
I mean, if you could retrieve them quickly, that would be great. If not, then we'll just work our way through it without them. But I'd be curious to see what it looked like before you perform the renovations.
So did the village require a local zoning variance for the additional finished space on a third level?
Yeah,
Yeah, they did. Sorry, Peter, you can continue.
That's fine. Speak to any, it's good.
Yeah, I believe they did the variance and they approved that. And the remaining issue is I think what the more what was being said before about the sprinkler or the other things. They say how do we resolve that was they had that. I don't believe there's any issue with the space itself, because the envelope of my house has never changed. I never increased anything or any of that nature. Nothing got bigger. It was the renovation that we did was more, as Peter had mentioned, with like kitchen and access to my lower level to make the kitchen bigger. That was really the work that we did. Anything else was cosmetic in nature. No changing of the house itself. From the outside, if you looked at the home, it doesn't look any different than when I bought it 13 years ago.
So other than what the building inspector wrote on the application to the state, did the Board of Appeals issue any determination or conditions other than just approving?
I think they wanted us to come here and get your take on it, because I don't think they were ready to make a firm decision at this point.
Because you had, building code violations.
Yeah, it's something that
Yeah.
we're looking for a relief from the state, because it is something that unfortunately inherited. I don't know if I should bring this up, but I will. The previous owner was on the Board of Trustees of the village, and the CFO was issued. And so my assumption is that what Danny's, if you see the assessor photos that Danny's talking about, it should match what's our photos here today.
So the CO is issued for habitable space in the attic?
That was my question.
Not 100% on that.
Okay.
That
So let's-
space
What
probably was there when he won.
are you offering up for the board for life safety? You looking for relief across the board? Or are you offering up a fire alarm system? Or are you offering up an egress window or?
An egress
Any of that?
window, we don't definitely offer up an egress window. It's something that
Okay.
makes sense. A fire alarm to a central station is generally not a problem. Those are things that can be addressed with an alarm company, and that would help. If that helps the situation. We've done sprinkler systems, and it's extremely expensive and very cumbersome in a house that's already built. In an existing house, sorry.
Have you looked into a type D
Yeah.
limited area system just for the attic and the stairs?
We looked into it, it was not any cheaper, and then it's still expensive, an expensive thing, and it's a hard thing to install, once the building's installed. We had to do it recently for a job in Kings Point, where the frame was still open, and it was a relatively easy thing to do. But
So as this board, we've had this situation before presented to us. So we'd like to see these cost estimates so we can, kick it around on the board side to see if it is a financial hardship or
yeah,
not.
we had Midnight Express prepared, I think, some.
Yeah, so this would be a situation where it would be, off a domestic water line. It could be, it's a big attic, but it could be maybe under a dozen heads. It's got to have the stair going out to grade as well, being covered.
All pecs.
I
too.
remember when I inquired about it, I guess there's a long run to connect to the water line. And it was like, it was a 6-figure plus job to get this thing, that aspect done.
Did you vet that out? Because it's contingent on pressure and,
Yeah, it
PEX
was like
is, work with.
Yeah.
I called
With that-
several different companies, like it seemed like a real dead end. The one thing I can say is that I do have, a fire alarm system, throughout the house. And, I think there's easy access up to the attic. Now, I guess, we can, make, a window operable there and find something that route. I mean, I can pull some of the research and like further explore the sprinkler system, but it was really difficult. I mean,
But it-
my biggest issue is like, and I'll pull up the pictures, like there was nothing being done to the attic, and I bought it from somebody and it was exactly like that. And I guess the building inspector decided to give me a hard time over something that was not even in play during our renovation. And as of that, my CO has been held up for several years now.
With all due fairness to Mr. Albinski, it's a life safety issue, and if he has to sign off on it, he has every right to make sure it meets the code, irrespective of what happened by somebody else in the past. So it's a very well-appointed attic. I've seen the photos. You got a bathroom up there with a shower. It could support sleeping. There are concerns there for people escaping an emergency and also fire department personnel coming in to rescue somebody. So, this is something we take seriously, and it's on the 3rd floor. So we're going to try and get there with you, but we have, specific questions that,
So
we
when
want
you
answered.
do your analysis for the sprinkler, could you do it a couple of different ways? Because in my head, I've done limited where you connect into the potable water that's up in the bathroom and run the line over to each room. It stays with the existing system that's there, so the cost analysis for that is much lower because the odds are if one sprinkler head goes off, you're gonna hopefully do some ability to reduce the fire loss. However, if the village is coming back or the water district is coming back and saying, no, we want a separate line, I think we'd like to hear that, we'd like to see it,
Okay,
because that could impact on the decision.
so you're saying there's systems that can be tapped off of an existing portable water line?
Yeah,
Correct.
the system could be, you have water coming up to the attic already,
That's,
so you can tap right off that.
that could be something that's controllable as compared to the other way, where
Correct.
Yeah.
what we were pricing out was definitely hundreds of thousands of dollars, so.
And looking at your attic plan, Peter, you're showing like mechanical spaces, I guess, in the knee walls and the lower portions of the roof.
There's some storage areas, yeah, and there's, yes.
So you
correct,
have
from the-
doors there to access, you have the ability to maybe run some, sidewall situations that might mitigate cost.
If it's something like Mr. Ravone's talking about, it's something that wasn't explored because we were looking at it from a water main. And if it's something, if that's in a sense, a half step that solves the problem, it might be more tolerable to, from a budget perspective. And I mean, that is the answer that possibly could be. We have to run the numbers on it and we'll get back to you on that, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's different than anybody, I mean, if that can really happen, where you can run a sprinkler system to the, to the water that's up there, I think that's something that I would, be interested and would be, would 100% look into.
I think
They didn't tell us that was the
Type-
case
type-
before.
It's called a Type D system. It's allowed by the code. And, yeah, it's a partial system just for the attic and the stairs. And it can run off the, existing water lines.
Courtney, correct me if I'm wrong, if they do that, they don't need to come back.
It would not.
You would comply to the code.
That's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you put in the egress window,
Mhm.
like you offered, you have the alarm already.
Mhm.
The only other thing I believe is required by the code, that partial system.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
if you do that, if you find it within your budget to do that, you don't need to come back to the board.
The interpretation of the building inspector at the time, again, he's concerned with life and safety. That was not something that was offered. It was the entire house, and I've been through the entire house, and it's not.
If it was a new house,
Yeah,
it would, or a substantial alteration, it would require a complete system through the house.
we've been.
But as a finish, just finishing the attic, the code provision that was quoted here just requires a partial system, just covering the attic and the path of egress.
That's good news for us.
By the way, I think, is it coming in the code? New single-family dwellings? Is that passed?
It's
Not to get off track, but I heard, they're lobbying for it. I think,
We've been hearing it from insurance companies that they want.
it's like the past 10 years, but I thought it was coming on this code cycle.
If the fire department main building's a certain distance from that, where the house is located, the insurance companies are griping about it. So that one house we're talking about where we put it in, the guy was getting crazy insurance rates and said, he's a commercial builder, he does multifamilies in the Bronx, and the sprinkler system was fine. Because it cut down his insurance a good amount.
Yeah.
So,
So,
So then,
is it in the code or no? It's one of these. So I'm saying
The new-
50.
I think it's still up in the air.
for your particular situation, the code is limited area.
Yeah.
I'll hand you in the code, this is the code requirement.
Okay, very good. Okay, that'll help me
Make
with.
a motion, we move this matter?
So, Mr. Pavone, we have a motion to hold it over. Oh, I guess you guys decide. Yeah, we'll adjourn, and if you need to come back, you can come back to us. If you can somehow work it out with the building inspector and get compliance, that's
Work
great.
with the information that you gave us and then try to get a resolution with the,
Okay, may I get a second on that motion?
second,
if we need to come back, we come back.
Yeah.
I call Lola and.
Yeah, talk to the regional office and they'll process another hearing.
Thank you very much for your help.
We got to vote on it.
I'm sorry.
Just briefly, Mr. Chairman, could you tell them what they need in order to come back? If this is gonna be considered, Mr. Bavone said,
Oh, yeah, we had.
well, yeah, if you have to come back, then we would need some, more documentation as to costs and what was proposed and,
The photos,
Thank you.
what you can't do.
The assessment photos.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
that allows you a better judgment,
Yes.
full picture.
Yes.
Shorter term, sure.
Was there anything else?
Excited
Oh,
about
thank you.
understanding what, their plan for the egress window.
There's fixed units in the attic right now, and then there would be replaced with something that could be at least operable. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
has to be, meet the requirements of the code for an egress window.
it would meet the 5.7 and.
Yeah.
yeah, if you have that in place and can tell us what you wanna do, then it's easier for us to approve it.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
Yeah, and the attic plan should be a little more specific with the uses. Because I know you mentioned you had a gym in there. Where's that gym going?
Oh, that's why I thought.
Is there a recreation space? Call it a recreation, stuff like that. There's a storage room that,
We had photos attached to it, we showed you where the photos. were
Okay.
taken. So I apologize, but we
No.
will do that.
it's okay. So, we got a motion, we got a second, all in favor to adjourn?
Aye.
Aye, okay, good luck, guys. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Makes it easier.
Yeah.
I'm not bad.
Judith Drive?
Oh.
Is anybody here for that case?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Good morning. This is,
Mr.
Mr.
Bavone.
Morosnick?
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Bavone and members. I have
How are you?
my expediter and their office will present.
Okay, can you give us 5 minutes? We're just gonna deliberate a little bit and we'll come back and we'll do the
Absolutely.
housekeeping.
Are you there?
Someone from Mark Anthony's office is with us?
Yep. Hi, my name is Ashley Lowe Keeney's from Mark Anthony's office.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you. We're gonna get started and then we'll give you a chance to tell us what's going on.
We got it.
We're on the record. The second hearing is in the matter of petition number 2024-0388. The petitioner is Mark Anthony Munisteri for Michael Morosnick. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Perfect.
Okay, this petition pertains to alterations of an existing detached one-story structure of wood frame construction, approximately 1,435 square feet in total gross floor area. This structure is accessory to a single-family dwelling and is located at 2995 Judith Drive, Belmore, Town of Hempstead, County of Nassau, State of New York. Petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR, Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section AJ 801.2, which states that additions shall comply with the provisions of this code. Except where required by this section, unaltered portions of the existing building shall not be required to comply with this code. And 19 NYCRR, Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section R322.2.1, which requires that buildings and structures in flood hazard areas, including flood hazard areas designated as coastal A zones, shall have the lowest floors elevated to or above the base flood elevation plus 2 feet, or the design flood elevation determined in accordance with sections R322.1.4 through R322.1.4.1, whichever is higher. The petitioner wishes to maintain a habitable space that is below the design flood elevation. Okay, tell us what's going on.
Good morning. My name is Ashley Lokinis from Mark Anthony Architects. Our office is located at 1563 Belmore Avenue in Belmore, New York. I am here today with Michael Moratznik, who is the owner and operator of the subject property located at 2995 Judith Drive in Belmore, New York. The Moratznik family retained Mark Anthony Architecture in order to legalize an existing accessory structure. Our office filed an application with the Town of Hempstead Building Department on June 9th of 2020. The Town of Hempstead has since requested a state variance as a result of Residential Code R322.2.21 and R322.2.22. R322.2.21 states that the enclosed areas below the design flood elevation shall be used solely for the parking of vehicles, building access, or storage. The structure in question is in majority a detached garage for parking of vehicles with a smaller accessory cabana attached to allow for the family to remain together in the outdoor-like environment, but be sheltered from the coastal winds common of the Great South Bay. The garage portion of the structure is not necessarily in question, which is approximately 23 by 22 foot space, but rather the cabana is the focus of this request for relief, which accounts for 35% of the structure, having a square footage of 278 square feet. R322.2.22 states that the enclosed areas must be provided with flood openings. After the CEO questionnaire was issued by the Town of Hempstead Plans Examiner, it had been decided that flood openings complying with this code will be installed so that we comply with the requirement. Therefore, relief from this code is no longer required. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. Who performed the work for the cabana? Who did the actual work? Was it current owner or a previous owner?
Current.
Without permit?
Moratznik is here with us today. He's the current owner.
And when was that work done? I'm sorry, it's probably in the packet somewhere, but.
What's the date on that?
2020?
Yes, during COVID.
And it's just used as a, like a lounge space and a bathroom. There's no sleeping or anything, right?
No.
Never,
I like that word.
never, Mr. Bavone.
Does the board have any questions?
What is the construction of the floor of the cabana? Oh, that was part of the original garage?
First.
So
It's all slab.
papers, Mark Anthony Monastery Architect. So the garage itself is a slab, concrete slab, and then the rest of it is a outdoor paver throughout the rest.
Throughout, okay.
The cabana and the cover, yes.
So it was an existing foundation in the garage that was converted, 30-something% of it was converted to this cabana space with a new bathroom.
Actually,
correct?
it's all new.
The garage is new as well?
New as in 2020, all new foundation.
Oh, the whole
Oh.
structure was new.
Oh,
You built the whole structure without a permit?
We did. It was virtually impossible to get permits then.
It was at the height of COVID.
okay, so
I mean,
the,
I got permits back then when I was doing my stuff.
so say again, what was the construction of the cabana? I don't see detailed,
2x4.
So there's a foundation plan.
foundation.
So there,
Foundation
you should have a foundation plan as well as floor plans and
Yeah.
cross sections.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then
what, the floor is,
Again, the floor of the garage is poured concrete with a perimeter foundation around the entire unit.
right, and the cabana?
Same with
Okay,
paper finish and 2x6 walls.
2x6 walls, are those, flood resistant materials?
Yes,
Oh, and you got the flood vents on the section.
as requested, yes.
Okay.
So to make this
So
as
there you
simple
go.
as possible, it's a detached garage with a cabana and a seasonal use. Is that correct?
Can you say that again?
It's a detached garage with a seasonal cabana. No living space in
Yeah.
it. You're not sleeping.
No,
Seasonal.
Mr. Bavone, so what it was the house that abutted my house to the south was an abandoned structure. It was torn down by the town of Hempstead, and eventually, 10 years after my labors, I was able to purchase that vacant lot with my next door neighbor, Joseph Pizzaruso. We thereafter subdivided that empty lot after the town knocked down the house, and we were able to purchase it at a foreclosure proceeding. We subdivided it. My neighbor took his one half of it, and I took the other half. He has subsequently built a fairly large structure. You may be aware about that structure that was tied into his house. And he has subsequently got all his approvals from the town of Hempstead that had a question as to whether or not the attic was living space. In my structure, I have a very small two-car garage. There is no living space. There is no loft. There is no nothing other than a pull-down stair with a piece of plywood that covers some of the structure, so I can store some cushions up there after the season in the backyard. The cabana is only used during the summertime. It's now winterized. Nobody goes in it. It's basically a changing room, and it does have a sink in there and a toilet.
Is there a heating system?
The only heating system in the garage is a split zone Fujitsu system.
Where is that located?
The Fujitsu hangs on the wall inside the garage, and the unit sits on the outside on the side yard south of the structure.
So it's an electric heat pump. So it probably
Yeah.
does cooling as well, right?
Yes. I mean, if in the summertime, I mean, I like to keep the car nice. If the garage gets extremely hot, I could cool it down.
But the cabana space is also conditioned, right?
Yes, if necessary.
Okay.
It's a in the ceiling mounted unit.
If you look at the
Yeah.
interior pictures, you can see the vent.
Oh, you got a little cassette in the ceiling. Okay.
Percent.
So
Is there an electrical distribution panel in there?
The electric is in the garage, tied into the main on the street.
How high above the floor is that?
That's all been, that all has been subject to a certificate. Mark, do you know how high that is?
Give us 1 second, we're taking a look.
At least 5 feet off the floor.
Oh, yeah, it comes up, it probably comes up to my neck if I stand next to it.
Mark, do you know the elevation of the slab since it's new? My records show it might be around 6 or 6.1.
6.1.
6.1, and the BFE is required is 10,
Yes.
and the BFE is 8.
Yes,
So
So
the electrical panel would need to be
the
what?
bottom of the electrical panel would need to be at 10.
Yeah, so 5 feet up. That's what he's asking.
That's a sub panel, correct?
elevation 11.
That's just a sub panel?
Yeah, it would have to be, it would be a sub panel for the
Right.
garage.
Sure.
Okay, now there's insulation in the walls. That's bad insulation.
Yeah, there's a R19 bat.
So if that gets wet, it's toast.
I would think so.
Yeah.
These are typical questions we ask in floodplain. You know, with the electrical
See,
panel,
that,
mechanical.
that should have been all before the, below the DFE, that should have been all, water resistant materials.
I will tell you this, that I lived through the house during Sandy, and my side of the street, a majority of it did not get any water damage. And before this structure was built, the entire bulkhead from the north side of my house, abutting my neighbor at 2991 Judith Drive, all the way down through Pizarusso's southerly end of his house, we ran a contiguous wall of new bulkhead. And if water was to ever come over the existing height of this bulkhead, I think all of Long Island would be flooded.
That could happen.
If it does, we all have big trouble.
Yeah.
But the wall is extremely high, and that was all done and approved by the DEC.
What other questions do we typically ask?
I can-
Any issues with the sanitary? Any
No.
kind of, no? This is sewer, correct?
Yes.
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 Yeah. Any other questions?
No.
Board members? No?
Nope.
All right, we're gonna go talk this out. We'll be back with a decision.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Lola. Due to the fact when we were in the hearing that we fleshed out that this was a brand new structure that you built, you're not seeking relief for the existing building code, the AJ section. So that's removed from the petition. So with that being said, with respect to petition number 2024-0388, Michael Maratsnik, petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR, Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section R322.2.1. Board makes the following findings. Number one, the structure that is the subject of this application is a newly constructed accessory detached garage of approximately 800 square feet in area with a solid roof canopy, approximately 635 square feet in area at the rear of the structure. Number two, a 280 square foot portion of the 800 square foot accessory structure is being utilized as a seasonal recreation space with a 3-piece bath. Number three, the subject accessory structure is located in a flood hazard zone AE8. Number four, an elevation of 6.12 feet for the floor of the subject accessory structure was added to a survey dated 7/25/2019 on 6/6/2024. Number five, the base flood elevation BFE is 8 feet, NAVD 88, and the design flood elevation is 10 feet NAVD 88 after adding the New York State freeboard. This means that the floor of the recreation space and toilet room are approximately 3.88 feet below the required flood elevation. Number six, the petitioner finds it impractical to comply with the DFE of 10 feet, but will comply with the code requirements by installing flood openings in the adjacent garage space. These openings will allow the flow through floodwaters of the enclosed structure. Number seven, the owner in testimony had stated that the subject property sustained no flood damage during Superstorm Sandy. Also, the certificate section sheet issued by the Town of Hempstead Building Department dated 6/19/2020 indicates after Storm Sandy that the property was listed as green to note designating no significant flood damage. And lastly, number eight, the local code official has given support to the petition's request for various uniform code flood requirements in this matter. So with respect to 19 NYCRR, Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section R322.2.1, The board finds strict compliance with the provisions to Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code would entail practical difficulties or necessary hardship and would be physically or legally impractical. And the granting of this variance will not substantially adversely affect Uniform Codes provisions for health, safety, and security. So wherefore it is determined that the application for variance from the provisions of 19 NYCRR, Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section R 322.2.1, be and is hereby proposed to be granted with the following conditions. Condition number 1, that the subject accessory structure shall not be utilized as a bedroom or a sleeping area.
Deal.
Number 2, any future new electrical or mechanical equipment and devices shall be located above the DFE or suitable for wet location.
Do this.
Number 3, that the existing recreation and toilet room space shall not be further expanded into the adjacent garage space. Number 4, that the attached solid roof canopy shall not have enclosing walls. And number 5, that in all other respects, the applicable provisions of the uniform code, the current uniform code shall be complied with. I need a motion to approve with these conditions.
And he's so moved.
I'll second it.
We got Mr. Hames, the motion, Mr. Pavone, second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion is approved. Furthermore, it should be noted that the decision of this board is limited to the specific building. An application before it as contained within the petition and should not be interpreted to give implied approval of any general plan to specification presented in support of this application. So there you go. We had those 5 conditions. You guys have any questions?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, thank you
Yes,
for your
sir.
consideration, Mr. Bavone and Mark Anthony's office. I appreciate everybody's time.
Of course. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Be well. Be well.
Thank you.
You too.
Any other members of the board?
Trying to get out. I'm trying to leave. Hold on.
This is the third and final hearing in the matter of petition number 2024-0413. Petitioner is Mark Anthony Munisteri for Kathleen Collins. Yeah, anytime you want. Yeah.
Okay, let the record reflect that I'm recusing myself from this matter. 22 years ago, I worked for another architect handling a variance for the subject location. Although I do not have any connection to the current owner, I think it's in the best interest I recuse myself. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Richard.
Thanks, Richard.
Someone recused himself.
Okay, with that being said, we're going to move on. This petition pertains to an existing detached two-story single-family dwelling of wood frame construction. The dwelling is approximately 3,680 square feet in total gross floor area and is located at 17 Kent Boulevard, Island Park, Town of Hempstead, County of Nassau, State of New York. Petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR, Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section R322.2.1. Take care, Rich. Which requires that buildings and structures in flood hazard areas, including flood hazard areas designated as coastal A zones, shall have the lowest floors elevated to or above the base flood elevation plus 2 feet, or the design flood elevation determined in accordance with sections R322.1.4 through R322.1.4.1, whichever is greater. Petitioner wishes to enlarge an existing conditioned room into available sunroom space. The floor level within the enlarged space is proposed to be below the design flood elevation. Is that correct, Courtney?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Let's see what's going on.
Good morning again. My name is Ashley Lowe Kianese from Mark Anthony Architects. Our office is located at 1563 Belmore Avenue in Belmore, New York. We are here today representing for our client, Ms. Kathleen Collins, who is the owner and occupant of the subject property located at 17 Kent Boulevard in Island Park. Kathleen retained our office in order to file for a proposed application to demolish the existing sunroom and construct a rear one-story addition to be built on the same footprint. The application was filed with the Town of Hempstead on June 22nd, 2023, under application number 23-6539 with the plans examiner at the building department. We also filed for an application to legalize interior alterations as a result of Superstorm Sandy at the same time. I would like to note that we are here today not to ask for relief unless deemed required, but rather asking for an official determination on the applicability of the code. According to the 2020 New York State Residential Code R322.2.1, buildings and structures in flood hazard areas, including flood hazard areas designated as coastal A zones, shall have the lowest floors elevated to or above base flood elevation plus 2 feet, or the design flood elevation determined in accordance with sections R322.1.4 through R322.1.41, whichever is higher. A building permit application that was filed to initiate the permitting process, we were directed at that time to obtain approval from New York State for the proposed finished floor that is even with the existing floor and non-compliant with the previous mentioned code is being considered a lateral addition by the plans examiner at the building department. The project is located in an AE9 flood zone, and based on the elevation certificate dated August 5th, 2010 by Gregory J. DeBruin, the engineer, the existing finished floor is at an elevation of 9.4 feet, where 11 feet is required. The existing prefabricated sunroom was legalized in 2001 and has a permit, and its finished floor is currently approximately 9 inches below the main dwelling finished floor. As part of this project, the prefabricated sunroom is proposed to be demolished and a wood-framed wall and roof is being proposed on the existing reinforced concrete foundation in the exact same footprint, so the footprint will not change. Additionally, a sleeper system floor is proposed to be installed on the existing masonry slab to align the finished floor to the main dwelling at an elevation of 9.4, as shown in the construction drawings, lessening the non-compliancy that currently exists. So just to clarify, the current condition is a step down, and we are proposing to make it even. Strict compliance with these codes would entail a change so slight as to produce a negligible additional benefit, consonant with the purpose of the code. This is due to the fact that this is technically not an addition, but a reconstruction of something that existed and was permitted prior to the newer flood zone requirements. The existing house is not being considered substantially approved by the town of Hempstead and is not required to meet current flood zone construction requirements. This construction poses no net change or additional effects on the surrounding areas. We are requesting that the proposed construction be allowed to be constructed at the elevation of 9.4 feet to match the rest of the existing home to create a more efficient flow and eliminate any potential tripping hazards when navigating between the existing home and the renovated space. That concludes our presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Okay. So what would the floor need to be raised to comply? How many inches are we talking about?
It's
You're going to what, 9.4?
9.4, so it would need to be raised about 1.6 feet.
1 point what?
0.6 feet.
1.6,
1.6 is what? 20
11.
inches?
11.
1 foot 6 inches?
Yeah.
Six.
No, 1 point,
1.6.
16 inches?
18.
18 inches. Okay, so that would be like
No, 1.6, so it'd be about 19 inches.
Okay.
19 inches. That would be like 3 steps up. Which I could see why you want to be flush. And if you did 3 steps up, you would be below the code for ceiling height. In that space. Is there anybody here from the town? Because this is an appeal, right? Is there a code official on this call today?
It appears that someone's there, but
Joe said yes in the chat.
Yes, I see that he's there, but he's,
Yes,
might have stepped away.
yes, Joe, you shall call in, please.
I'd like to hear what the code official has to say with regards to his
Oh.
interpretation of an addition.
Yes, he's asking to call in. Can you give him a second?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you.
You don't have the residential code here with you. Can you pull it up on your computer?
You want me?
Let me,
I might ask you to read.
yeah,
Well, he quotes it in the staff analysis.
I'll go get it.
I have.
No, you can't pull it up on your computer?
Can't read from that.
You can't, really? Oh, my glasses?
He's back.
I see someone.
Hello, can you hear me?
I see someone.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Please state your name and we'd like to hear from you.
Joseph Camerata, code official, plan examiner from Town of Hempstead Building Department.
Thanks for joining us today.
Good morning, all. Ashley, everybody. The perspective of the town is that when an addition, an L, a wing, any type of work removed from the building, and even if it's to be reconstructed in the exact same footprint, we consider it a new improvement, which is why the denial was processed under R322. We do not, after the technical bulletins and the code outreach bulletins received from the state, basically clarified that all additions when the building is either partially or completely in the flood zone requires compliance with R322. Our de facto position is any new improvement that is below the DFE automatically gets denied for a state relief. As a matter of zoning, the department and the Board of Zoning Appeals considers it a brand new addition, whether something existed there lawfully or not. Once it's removed to an unrecognizable condition and it's being rebuilt with new materials, we consider it a brand new improvement.
Okay. With regards to the building code, the zoning, not so much, but the building code, this is existing foundation and they're building on top of it.
Yeah.
Right.
You're saying the position of the town of Hempstead is that this is perceived as an addition,
Not an alteration.
not an alteration.
Correct.
Is that?
The main reason,
Go ahead, Joe.
well, I'm sorry?
No, I said, go ahead. I don't want to interrupt
Oh,
you.
yeah, the main reason being for that is just that when the original prefabricated sunroom was built, the house was not in a flood zone. Now that it is in a flood zone, the requirements that weren't even examined or even needed to comply with at the time when it was built, when there was flood zone ordinances in place for properties that were designated in the flood zone. Now that it's been designated in the flood zone, the new construction is considered an addition.
Well, what you're saying is because of the flood zone requirements, that changes the definition of an addition versus an alteration?
No, what I'm saying is that to stay consistent with
That's what
town
you're saying.
interpretation of the classification of work, we consider once it's removed and it's rebuilt, it's a brand new addition. And as such, because the property is now designated in a flood zone, all new additions are required to comply with 322.
So the sunroom was legalized in 2001.
Correct. As an ancillary sunroom below the DFE, which didn't apply because it wasn't in a flood zone at the time.
There probably wasn't
Yeah.
a freeboard.
You want?
No freeboard requirement in 2001?
There was no base flood requirement in 2001 for the property because the property wasn't on the flood maps.
Yeah, so, do you have anything in writing at the town level that, or this is just like a procedural approach that you guys take? This is how you deem it an addition. We could try and read the definition in the state code of an addition. That might help us.
I mean,
This is
as
an
far as we're
appeal.
concerned, it's adding habitable space that didn't exist previously. That's to us the definition of an addition.
Well, we would consider the sunroom
That's a
was
change of use.
a habitable space.
That's fine, but it's been removed entirely as per our consistent definition with how improvements are designated here. It's a brand new addition. If it was detached from the house and it was a brand new garage, even though it was demolished down to the slab, it would still be a brand new garage. Would
So
still need to be
it's
flood
not-
vented,
you're
be
not-
anchored properly by today's standards.
You're not perceiving this as a floor area addition. You're perceiving it as conceptually, because it's
New construction.
reconstructed. Yeah,
Correct.
I get it. I get it. What was the sunroom used for on the 2001 approval? Trying to look at the plans.
It was an ancillary isolated sunroom. There
What
was
was it?
an isolated ISO door separating the two spaces, so it wasn't.
What was the
heated or-
use?
I'm sorry?
What was the use designation on the drawings?
It just said prefabricated sunroom, I believe. I don't believe it designated it one way or another. Let me look in the
It
records.
says unheated greenhouse on the drawings.
Unheated pre-engineered greenhouse. Yep, and that you see the ISO doors separating the unheated from the conditioned space.
It's like a change of use.
It's a greenhouse, a habitable space.
In 2001, I can defer to Courtney on that one. It says, it's by Four Seasons. I mean, I don't know if it was approved. Do you have the language of the permit? Does it say habitable space on the permit?
No, variance to maintain pre-engineered greenhouse per BZA grant.
If I may, if it's not conditioned, unheated, if it's unheated, it might not be considered habitable.
That's what I'm trying to say. Variance, lot area occupied, maintain addition, greenhouse. Greenhouse could be agricultural, you know?
Yes.
So,
No, because agricultural would have to be standalone.
yeah. I mean, knowing how Four Seasons were done, there's no photos on this thing?
Yeah.
I mean, what are the finishes in there and,
Was this a maintain at the time? This was?
yeah.
Let me see if I can pull up, I mean, I would have to furnish them to you guys at a later date only because
Yeah.
if I have to pull them for our records, I'd have to email them to Lola and she'd have to forward them to you.
You know, these are one of these things that, you can line up 10 code guys and get some subjectivity there.
That's.
I'd like to read the definition of the state code for addition, just to get that on the record, and then we could talk it out.
Sure.
So, I don't know, Courtney, you have that available, Courtney?
It's in the
Yeah.
analysis.
The 2020 residential code.
It is?
And addition has an extension or increase in floor area, number of stories or height of a building or structure. For the definition applicable in chapter 11C and 1101.6. That last sentence.
So I can only speak for myself, but I would say it's definitely not an increase in floor area or number of stories, but I think if you did take a conservative approach to this examination, you could say it's a change in height. Because the existing sunroom's at 8'3" and the new playroom is at 10'7". Could be perceived as negligible.
Could also be, like, if you look at the definition of a level 2 alteration, I think that could be considered in there too. Level 2 alterations shall include the reconfiguration of space, the addition or elimination of doors of any door or window, the reconfiguration or extension of any system, or the elimination of additional equipment.
Yeah,
A reconstruction of a room. That's the question. Is it an addition? Seems to me there's a room there now. So it's not adding a new room.
It's a reconstruction of a structure on existing foundation to change the use from non-habitable sunroom to habitable playroom space.
mhm.
So there is a change in habitable, non-habitable to habitable, like a basement or a second floor on a
Well,
cape.
that's a question though. Is the sunroom considered non-habitable?
Well, it said
Hab-
unheated,
That makes it non-habitable?
like,
Property maintenance code says it does.
Excuse me.
so it said even if it's not habitable, if it's not heated, the property maintenance says it could be habitable. Is that what you're saying?
I was saying that property maintenance makes a definition between, I believe, conditioned and unconditioned space.
Yes.
And as unheated, I would imagine if it was conditioned space, it would have been open to the dwelling at the time in 2001, being that they maintained it in such a manner where it was isolated thermally. I would say that it was probably not conditioned space and couldn't pass an energy calculation at the time, which is why they thermally isolated and chose to legalize it unheated. That to me tells me that maybe at the time it was not habitable space.
So if we take that path, then they're talking about seeking relief for
For the elevation.
the elevation.
Yeah, I mean, I at this point, I could see that the discussion is going into the semantics direction. I mean, that's completely up to you guys to clarify those definitions. I can just tell you, like I said, from the town's perspective, for us to be consistent, we deem the reconstruction of anything that was existing, whether it was lawfully or not, new construction, which is why the denial was sent in such a way. If you feel that it should be done under AJ for a level 2 alteration, I'm okay with amending the denial as the board sees fit, because obviously, you know, with that, I believe 322 still gets kicked into. I'm looking into the code as we speak now.
So Joe, what's the reasoning behind a reconstruction in the same footprint? I'm a code official myself, so I'm just curious on what happened at the town level that you guys, is it a zoning driven kind of thing? Or is it something you guys just formulated a procedure? This is the way we see it?
No, it's zoning. It's been a long held definition that even if something was lawfully built, once it's removed, you're required to build to today's standards, regardless of whether
So
there's
you're
something
zoning,
existing.
and I see that, because, anything built new has to comply to the code, right?
Right.
In zoning, building code is a little different here in this
Absolutely.
situation, because you're classifying. So I see with the impetus of your review, I understand it completely. And I think if you did take a conservative approach to the state portion of it on how you define addition, I think we can go down the path of this is deemed a negligible addition, in my opinion. And then we should hear it out for the merit of a variance.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I
That's my position. Yeah, I was talking to the members here, but
100%.
do you guys
no
feel,
comment to that.
or do you feel it's more of an appeal case?
I'm sort of 6 of one, half dozen the other.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do
All right,
that.
so if we uphold the determination that it is an addition, then we should discuss the merit of granting a variance based on,
Okay.
is that the way this is going, Mr. Fortney?
It goes anyway.
No, but I'm just saying that's administratively the path, then we would talk about that, or we deliberate and come back and make the determination.
If the board decides that the town is correct in its definition or determination that this is an addition, then we can follow the path that leads to a variance.
Yeah.
If the board decides that it's not an addition, then it can say so. And it can say no variance is required. Or if the board feels that there is something here that actually triggers the need for a variance, even though they disagree with the town, they can grant a variance to whatever they think is a violation at this point.
Yeah, I guess one of my only concern in terms of which way we go is that whatever we do, we're sort of setting a precedent. Granted, each variance request stands on its own,
Mhm.
but that kind of decision is sort of a precedent.
If I may interject or expand on that point, just because Mr. Nation and I have had several back and forth emails with regards to approaching a situation like this, and this situation specifically, which is not appropriate to bring up here, but I will say that what I've learned through those conversations with Mr. Nation, and poking through some of the books and some of the reference guides that not only the state gives me, but also FEMA, as I am a CFM and a New York State floodplain manager. The FEMA desk guide reference for substantial damage and substantial improvement determinations does provide a statement, which I believe the state has invoked once before for granting a variance of this nature, whereas it says if the building was built pre-firm, the additions themselves should not have to comply, in their opinion, provided that the work on its own or combined with other work is not declared a substantial improvement, excuse me.
Right.
I tend to agree with that, although I believe the state code does not use that book as a reference, so I'm not allowed to hang my hat on that for any type of code interpretation. But I just would like to put on the record that that statement and that determination from FEMA, I believe, wholly substantiates, allowing a variance process below the DFE for things of this nature, and for the general definition of what we're trying to address here today. So I know FEMA does on a federal level, does give a lot of leeway with these type of situations. So in terms of a precedent, I don't know that may hang on you guys. I think FEMA may be holding a lot of that.
No, we have granted many variances for elevations below the DFE. It's just a question here of setting a precedence on the definition of
Understood.
what is happening when you demolish and build up the same.
Understood.
That's the whole question. I have no problem with the variance,
Mhm.
except some construction issues, but we'll get into that.
Right.
All right, so
Uh,
you want to ask any other questions? I mean, is on the merit of what they're doing, they're raising the floor and sleepers to be
I,
flush with the 9.4 of the existing finished floor?
well, are we agreeing on?
I mean, I think we can go back and deliberate
We have
on
to
that.
discuss it.
I think we can discuss and come back the
Yeah,
path that we're going
The,
to
the
take.
question I have on the construction of the floor is, I have a concern with, that there's plywood over a, existing concrete floor with insulation in between. Yes, it's foam insulation. But if water gets in there, it's just gonna sit. And water will get in there. And I'm not sure, and the plywood, is not necessarily, water resistant material. At least from what I see on the one little detail.
Right.
I can say that I think if we grant a variance on this, we will probably, in my mind, require water resistant materials to be used below the DFE, and that's required by code.
Is that problematic, Ashley, what we're talking about?
Well, that's okay.
No, that's okay. We were I was just discussing that with the drafter who worked on the case. It's not
Okay.
currently proposed to be, but it can absolutely be amended to
Okay.
be so.
Okay.
Okay, I would also recommend that openings be put in that concrete slab, so if water does get in there, it can drain.
Yeah, we would, this project actually does have to go for a local variance even after the state, if the state does approve the below DFE variance for the building code, it's still going for a local variance for the same issue. So when it returned from the local variance, we would most likely address a lot of the water resistant material installation where the DFE line is so that they can show all the proper materials below that line.
Just as a procedural thing, why is a local variance required if we grant the state variance?
The our local zoning ordinance adopted
zoning?
the same language.
Gotcha, okay.
Hey, Ashley, what's the hardship for stepping up that playroom? Even like a couple of steps to get it? I mean, all right, you're presently over the BFE at 9.4?
Yes,
Not over the DFE.
Yeah.
not over the
So-
DFE. We're over the BF. You said
Yeah.
BFE,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, so, yeah, I don't know what that would do for you. It would just get more of a crawl space rather than sleepers?
Yeah, it probably put a space in there that could be in worse.
Because I could see full linear steps across the two spaces and you step up into the playroom.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, like, like
And
along,
What's prohibiting you from doing that? Because you're on existing foundation and you can frame the floor up.
Then you probably have to increase the ceiling height too.
Well, they're 8'10", so you could conceivably have two steps up, still not make it to the 11, but I don't
Well,
know what that does for you.
this currently you step down into the sunroom. So the way that we designed it was for cohesiveness. So now that it would all be one length and so that you don't trip over it. Kathleen does have small children. Additionally,
I get the convenience aspect of it.
Small children love steps.
Old people don't like steps.
Yeah.
I like to climb them.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I really don't have any other questions. Anybody else on the board have questions? We can try and dig into this and figure out the path we're going to take, if it's an appeal or not. But
No, I'm.
I did want to mention for the record that there is a roof terrace above that you're creating. So,
That's another reason to keep the ceiling level certainly.
exactly. But, again, for the town of Hempstead's position on the height, existing sunroom's at 8'3". The new addition is at 10'7". So it's an extra 2 feet higher.
I don't have a problem.
I know, it could be deemed as negligible, and if I was a plan examiner, I probably would have not.
We grant that all the time.
Yeah, so we're gonna talk this out. If there's anything else you want to add before we depart, let us know. We're gonna go arm wrestle and see if we can come back with a decision, okay?
I'm curious, Mr.
the only thing I would like to add is our office is under the same impression that you guys were discussing earlier is the precedent that it sets if we allow the town to interpret the state code this way. So we just want to go on record that we are in agreement with you on that.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Camerata clearly said that it was zoning driven for the town of Hempstead. So,
But my question, Mr. Chairman, is, let's say, for instance, this board granted a variance, or they agreed to the applicant that this is not an addition. Can the zoning board in the town decide that,
That it is?
that, no, that this.
Go against us.
Yeah, go against it, and then this is all is for naught.
That's a good question.
That is a question that is unfortunately above my pay grade.
It seems
I
like
can
it could
tell
be
you
a-
that just coming from me, there's no way that they're going to change their interpretation. Possibly as an official reach out from you gentlemen and ladies, maybe there could be some type of amelioration and mediation to find a common ground between the 2 points and perspectives for the future. But again, that's
we don't typically.
above my title, unfortunately.
All right,
Or they could possibly grant a variance to the definition or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you just from my personal experience, dealing both on the applicant side as well as this side, typically when there comes where the state and the local zoning board have to rule on some aspect of the design, a lot of times where it gets gray, the zoning board will defer to the state. And let you guys kind of, take the lead role on some of those gray areas. But again, nothing's guaranteed. Nothing is, every case stands on its own. And again, to really find a clear cut policy, you'd probably have to reach out beyond me.
well, if it's an appeal, and we don't, this is a position for state code, not the town.
Absolutely.
Zoning.
Yeah.
So then you gotta just work it out on there.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll be right back. Do the best we can.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you. On the record? Thank you, Lola.
Do we have our building code official back online?
I don't think he's there.
He's not there.
Well, I mean, that's okay.
Oh, there he is.
There he is.
There he is. Okay.
All right, get your notepad out. Excuse me. Okay, with respect to petition number 2024-0413, Kathleen Collins, petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section R322.2.1. The board makes the following findings. Number one, the subject dwelling is located in a flood hazard zone AE9. Number two, the existing first floor elevation is 9.4 NAVD 88, and the base flood elevation is 9 foot NAVD 88, according to an elevation certificate submitted with this application. The required design flood elevation is 11 feet NAVD 88 upon addition of the New York State Freeboard. Number three, a sunroom was originally added to the dwelling without a permit. However, this construction was later legalized in 2001 after receiving approvals from the local Board of Zoning Appeals for violating zoning setback provisions. Number four, the proposed scope of work involves demolishing the existing sunroom and reconstructing a new one-story playroom with a roof terrace above on the existing foundation. The roof and wall height of the new construction are approximately 2 feet higher than the existing sunroom. Number five, the floor level of the replacement construction is proposed to align with the existing first floor at 9.4 NAVD 88. Number six, the code official believes that the proposed work is an addition and therefore triggers the provisions of AJ 801.2 and R322.2.2 of the 2020 Residential Code of New York State. Is that point one?
2.1.
Yeah, R322.2.1. Let me just make that correction. Okay, number seven, the definition of an addition in the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Chapter 2 states that an addition is an extension or increase in floor area, comma, number of stories, or height of a building or structure. Therefore, with a strict interpretation of this definition, the additional 2 feet in height of the new playroom is deemed an addition by this board. Therefore, number 8, as an addition, the proposed construction will need to comply with the New York State flood provisions of AJ 801.2 and R 322.2.1. Let me just make that correction again. Number 9, 19 NYCRR section 1205.4C states that in cases before a regional board of review on appeal, the board may fashion suitable remedies so as to do justice among the parties, including but not limited to: 1, where an order or determination has been made sustaining, reversing, or modifying in whole or in part such order of determination. In view of these above findings, the board denies the appeal of the petitioner and therefore sustains the determination of the code official. Strict compliance with the code would entail practical difficulties and unnecessary hardship, or would be otherwise unwarranted because such would be physically or legally impracticable. So, wherefore, it is determined that the application appealing the determination of the code enforcement official is denied, and a variance from NYCRR Part 1220, Sections AJ 801.2 and R 322.2.1 is hereby proposed to be granted with the following conditions. Condition number 1, that all materials for the addition and all new construction below the design flood elevation of 10 feet shall be flood resistant. Number 2, that any new electrical and mechanical equipment and devices shall be located above the design flood elevation or suitable for wet locations. Number 3, that flood vents shall not be incorporated in the design. Number 4, that in all other respects, the applicable provisions of the uniform code, the current uniform code, shall be complied with. I need a motion to approve with these conditions.
Andy, so moved.
May I get a second? Lara, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is approved. Furthermore, it should be noted that the decision of this board is limited to the specific building and application before it as contained within the petition and should not be interpreted to give implied approval of any general plans or specification presented in support of this application. So we got you to an approval through the variance procedure. You have any questions?
I do not. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good job today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good
Take
day.
care.
Bye-bye.